Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me there. Welcome to my double header of podcast today on this Tuesday, April 19th at 7 o'clock. I'm looking forward to my next guest tonight. His name is Gabriel Fuerza. I hope I pronounced his last name right. He's a pro wrestler in Ontario. His nickname is Mr. Everything, and he's a crossbody pro wrestling champion in the Cambridge-Kitchener area. I saw him wrestle March 19th in Cambridge. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Gabriel, the champ, and talking some pro wrestling tonight. So just bear with me, guys, and I'll bring on Gabriel, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him. So anyways, 1 second, guys. Good evening, Gabriel. How are you doing?
Hey, not bad. How are you?
Good. Can you hear and see me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I use for the background Toronto because I know that's where you're from.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
How was the how did the card go on Saturday? Unfortunately, I had another commitment, and I wasn't able to come to the one in Cambridge.
Good. I feel like most of the shows are pretty good up in crossbody, so just business as usual, you know.
I was gonna say, and the next one is not until what, June 18th, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, I'll promote it right now. I guess Saturday, June 18th, crossbody pro wrestling. I guess the Monster returns on June 18th. So, have you guys determined what matches are going to be yet, or that's still talked?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know yet.
Okay, I was gonna say, and how did your match go against? Was it Taylor Thomas on Saturday night?
Tyler Thomas, yeah.
Tyler, sorry.
No, went well. Still champ, so that's all I care about.
I was gonna say, how long have you held the belt for now?
Just 2 months or so.
Wow,
not very long. Just one.
Do you remember which opponent did you defeat, and which city was it where you won the title?
I beat Holden Albright in a 64-minute match in Cambridge. Yeah.
64 minutes, man. Wow. That's incredible. Because I had Alexa Nicole on a week and a half ago on my podcast, and she was saying she had never wrestled 30 minutes before. And you really have to have great cardio for those kind of matches.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mental game. You kind of hit the wall the same way that runners do, but you just got to keep pushing.
Was that your first ever 60-plus minute match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
I think the longest I had done before that would have been like half an hour or something like that.
Wow. And I was gonna say, you still hold the Barrie Wrestling Championship belt too?
Yep.
And you just had a match, I think, recently with Alexa Nicole.
We're gonna have a match the next show. I just defended against Mark Wheeler.
Wow. Okay. And she's a pretty tough opponent too.
She is. Yeah. She's very tough. She's been on national television, right? So I can't take her too lightly.
Yeah, she was great coming on my podcast, and her match against Crystal Moon. I was at that one in March 19th, and that was an outstanding match as well.
I agree.
So, again, thanks a lot for coming on. First question I wanted to ask you is, can you tell my audience in Guelph just a little bit about yourself, and when did you decide you wanted to pursue a career as a pro wrestler?
I kind of decided that I wanted to actually do this as like a career later than most people. Like I was already wrestling when I decided that I'd actually like try. Because I've been a wrestling fan pretty much my whole life. And my parents were actually the ones who kind of found the wrestling school that I ended up going to. So at first it was just kind of like sort of like a hobby, you know, something to do, something to motivate you. And just as time kind of went on, I realized that I was kind of not bad at it, and I was kind of like picking it up well. and I like wrestling, and I figured why not give it a try. And yeah, I must have been probably like 20 years old at that point, and I started training at 18. So yeah, just recently, I guess, in the grand scheme of things.
Okay. Did you grow up a WCW fan or a WWE fan?
WWE. Yeah, I didn't
WWE.
start watching it like religiously until probably '04. So by that point, WCW was, long gone.
Yeah, that's true. I started watching wrestling in the mid '80s during the golden era. I call
Mhm.
it was Hulkamania, The Warrior, Bret Hart,
Yeah.
and I watched wrestling up until I think when The Rock and Stone Cold left, and then I kind of lost interest in it for 10 years.
Hmm.
And then AEW brought in CM Punk, who I always liked, and I started watching AEW, and I thought them having a CM Punk and MJF, I kind of liked it. And then I went to a card in Guelph in November with Pearls 365 Wrestling.
Hmm.
Really enjoyed it. And then when I saw your card coming up in Cambridge in March, I took my friend and myself, and I really enjoyed it. And I've really found my interest back in pro wrestling again.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, a lot of people I think fell out around the same time, like from the '80s to about when Stone Cold and The Rock left. But yeah, I mean, like, there's a whole world of wrestling out there, right? Like, just because one product kind of becomes stale, like, there's plenty more to watch.
And I was gonna say, and I was really impressed with both cards and stuff like that. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about: what's your thoughts on intergender wrestling? I think it's great personally.
Yeah, I think when it's done tastefully, it's great. I think I can see how some people would be sort of against it, especially like some wrestling can be a bit more on the violent side. But I've always seen wrestling as like combat theater, right? So there's no reason why there can't be intergender. Like we're in this sort of fantastical world where really anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like in a real fight, you're not going to see a shooting star press ever, right? So why are we so nitpicky about what's acceptable and what isn't, right? If you can tell the story, I don't see why not.
And one thing I wanted to say is women's wrestling has come a long ways in the last decade, because before it was just diva type wrestling and basically hiring pretty women to go in the ring. But now the wrestling is really good quality.
Yeah, yeah, and I think because a lot of people will say wrestling or women's wrestling has come a long way, but people forget that like women's wrestling from the get go has been really, really, really good. It was just that like little lull where the WWF and the WWE were like on top, and they were pushing the pretty women, which is fine to a degree, obviously, but when you look a little bit further back, like with people like Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano, right? Like they were in the WWF and they were kicking each other's asses. And so I think it's just kind of reached back to where it should have been from the get go.
That's true. Hey, you're my seventh wrestler on my podcast. You're my first male wrestler, so thank you
Nice.
for coming on. I hear the others, the female wrestlers have been great. Chris Terra's been great.
Hmm.
Alex Nicole's been great, and I've had a few others like Gigi Ray on
Hmm.
it as well. So yeah, I just love, like I said, I've gotten back into the squared circle, and I really had a good time on that card March 19th. And the thing I like about it is you guys were, after the matches, you guys were great with the fans and stuff like that too.
Yeah, we try to be. We want everybody to come back and have fun.
And it's affordable entertainment for a couple hours for
Hmm.
families or people that want to catch some wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question I wanted to ask you is, who helped train you, and where did you train at again?
So I started training at Squared Circle Training. That's in North York, Ontario. That was under Rob Fuego. Um, and a lot of the kind of local guys would come in here and there and help you out with whatever they could. Then I trained at Battle Arts with Santino and Yuki Shikawa. Since then, I just try to pop into every school that I can get into. I trained with Josh Alexander for a little bit. um, just everywhere that I can kind of get in. Like if I see a seminar happening, I'm definitely there. But yeah, it all started at Squared Circle, and then about probably about a year there, and then another year at Battle Arts.
Wow. Okay. Hey, before I get into the next question, I just wanted to show a match with you and Mike Speedball Bailey, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen him fight. I saw him fight Addy Star in Guelph, and I thought it was a tremendous match. Addy's another one I've had on my podcast,
Yeah, Eddie's great.
and Mike Speedball Bailey, I was really impressed with his wrestling and his martial arts as well.
Hmm.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll just Turn it on. I'll turn down the volume. So, yeah, this is a match. I think this was from September 1st, 2021, I believe.
Something like that. So somewhere late summer.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, September 21st, 20. Was this the first time you fought, Mike?
Yeah, it was actually first time we touched it all.
Wow. And I guess this match went about 16, 17 minutes. Overall, how did you feel? How did you think this match went with Mike?
Good, good. It was kind of out of nowhere. Like, you expect to wrestle somebody like Mike Bailey and know like well ahead of time and kind of have time to prepare for it. But this one just kind of popped up from one week to the next, and all I could do was make sure my cardio was up there, ready to go, and I was in the best ring shape as I could be. Luckily, I had been training consistently during the pandemic, so I think it went well.
I was going to say, and when you have your match with an opponent, how long does it take to develop chemistry with that person? And do you guys sit down before a match and just try to work things how you want things to go?
Yeah, we'll chit chat, not too much, just sort of major points that we want to hit. Uh, as for chemistry, honestly, you either have it or you don't. Sometimes you expect to have great chemistry with somebody who is, a great wrestler, and you just don't. And no matter how many times you wrestle, sometimes it'll never, ever, ever get to where you want it to be. And sometimes you wrestle somebody for the first time, and you guys just bounce off each other really well.
Okay. Now I got to ask you this: what do you prefer, being the heel or the baby face?
Um, Probably the heel. It's kind of weird because I tend to get cheered even though I'm a heel sometimes. I'm starting to think that it's because I'm having too much fun and people are kind of seeing that and they're like, in on it now. Uh, but definitely being a heel is more, my characteristics. Um, but nothing too serious. I like to think of myself as like a cartoon villain, like yeah, I'm a heel, but like I'm not trying to ruin anybody's day. I want everybody to have fun.
I was gonna say, does the promoters have a say in when you do a wrestling card and who's the baby face or the heel, or is it up to the individual wrestlers?
Um, Kind of 50-50. Typically, if the promoter asks me to be either face or heel, I'll be face or heel, whatever they want. But as you kind of get more clout, someone like Mike Bailey, he might say, "Well, I'm a face," and that's it. I don't do heel because I'm a face right now. But yeah, it really depends. I'm not too annoying for that. I'll just be whatever you want me to be.
Okay. And do you have your own ring, your own colors and your ring gear, and then your ring entrance music? How did you come up about that as well?
So the whole character is basically just like a kind of Western gunslinger type thing. Like it started with like a Mexican revolutionary, kind of went into like the gunslinger territory. So the music I just pick stuff that kind of matches that. Um, like right now I'm using a song by Tito and Tarantula, and they're just very like I don't know, very kind of chill guitar, acoustic kind of sounding. So I like to kind of get the crowd to kind of relax.
Yeah, because an entrance song is a huge. Because as soon as you hear a wrestler come out to that certain song, you know who it is.
Mhm.
Definitely. One thing you get. What I was gonna say. Did you have a wrestler or wrestlers that helped influence your career? And did you have any mentors when you're first breaking into the industry?
When you say influence, you mean like people I watch on TV or people like local?
Combination of both.
Well, on TV, definitely Eddie Guerrero. I mean, I started off kind of doing just high flying stuff uh, because I could. I had done parkour and like karate as a kid, so like that kind of stuff came very naturally to me. But I kind of realized that that wasn't really the type of wrestling style that I wanted. I grew up really liking Rey Mysterio, and as much as like I'd love to emulate some Rey Mysterio stuff, I know that I can't do it as cleanly and as well as he can. So I figure I'll just do something that I can do cleanly and as good. And Eddie Guerrero kind of fit that niche for me. He's a technical guy, not a big guy, but big presence, and he can fly when he needs to. As for mentors, I mean, Early on, just all the guys who were kind of at squared, like luckily like nobody kind of had like a big old ego, so you could go just up to anybody and ask them like, hey, what do you think about this, what do you think about that? Psycho Mike was very helpful early on. Josh Alexander has become sort of a mentor for me in recent years. um yeah, just the old guard that came before me, you know.
Okay. Have you wrestled outside of Ontario, or do you just stay in the Ontario area?
I've wrestled in Quebec, Nova Scotia. Trying to get into BC, and sooner rather than later, hopefully into the States.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. What's your favorite wrestling moves that you like to use? And do you have a submission hold too?
Yeah, so actually, one of my quote unquote signature moves is called the Witcher Lock. It's basically just a half crab where I got my knee on your head, and it's just a half crab on steroids, just yanked all the way back. I like that. I don't know if I have really a favorite move. I just I like things that kind of I don't know, people don't see coming. Like nobody expects you to stomp on someone's foot. Like it's just, it's not quite dirty, but it's also not, it's not cheating, but it's not exactly something that a good guy does, right? So I like to catch people off guard with that kind of stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say, and when you wrestle, you do like doing a little bit of brawling stuff, or are you more of a you rather do the technical stuff?
I'd personally rather do the technical stuff, but I'm down for whatever.
Okay, I was gonna say, and what is an average match for you, like time wise?
I mean that really depends on the booking. Lately, since I'm kind of champ in two different places, it's about 20-25 minutes, which is comfortable. Uh, Sometimes you get 8 to 10, 10 to 12. Those are a little bit harder actually because you have to tell a story in less time. When you have 25 minutes, you have lots of time to kind of spoon feed the audience exactly what you want them to appreciate out of the story. But with 8 to 10, 10 to 12, it's a little bit more rushed and you have a little bit less time to kind of get the message across.
Okay, and what's your biggest crowd that you've wrestled in front of so far?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I would have to guess either at C4. I think they fit about 500. Um, there's been some Destiny shows that have been super packed. I'm not really. I don't really. I don't know. I don't really go and ask the promoter. I don't really care about that stuff too much. Like as long as the crowd is engaged, I don't care if it's 5 people or 500 people.
I was gonna say, and I like that location in Cambridge too.
Yeah,
And then when the card I went to on March 19th, the crowd was really engaged with all the matches, and that's important too.
exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, next question I wanted to ask you is: do you remember your first wrestling match and your opponent? And do you have any rituals before a match?
Yeah. My first match was me and Preston Miles against Von Vertigo, who at the time was Jeff Vertigo, and a masked guy named Grimbo. Um, it was actually funny because I didn't expect to be wrestling that day. Like I didn't even have gear or anything. Like I was still, as far as I knew, in training, and I kind of just showed up to help that day. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to wrestle?" And I said, "Okay." And so I just borrowed someone's tights, borrowed someone's kick pads, and got in there. As far as rituals go, I like to stretch. Obviously, stretch a lot, get nice and warm. Um, I'm not as young as I was when I started, so I really gotta make sure that I'm nice and warmed up before I get in there because now I start pulling things and hurting things, and so I definitely want to stretch. I like to take a moment just before I go out and kind of just relax and not think about the match, not think about the nerves, anything like that, and just sort of focus on myself for a second. But that's about it.
Okay, there's something else I was going to ask you. I should have wrote it down, but I was going to say I forgot what's. I'll come back to it after. I'll just lead to my next question too.
Sure.
What do you enjoy the most about the wrestling industry, and what are some of the hardest aspects of the industry when you're first getting into it?
I really enjoy the like camaraderie. I like it just feels really good to be surrounded by wrestling and not have people kind of be bickering, or like promoters will bicker, wrestlers will bicker. Like it's supposed to be a business and everybody's supposed to be professional, but everybody has egos and everybody has their way of doing things, so people butt heads a lot. um and it's funny because I guess the people is what I enjoy the most, but at the same time those are also the hardest aspects. Because sometimes people just let their own sort of views get in the way of just doing business. And at the end of the day, like, that's what this is. This is a business, and you should be able to wrestle just about anybody and take care of them, and they take care of you. And you should be able to just wish everybody a good show, even if you're not on it, and it shouldn't be a big deal. But sometimes it's not that easy. So yeah, I would say the hardest aspect sometimes is just people's egos and people's difficultness, when this should all be fun, right?
Definitely. How do you have your own agent, or do you kind of negotiate for yourself with these promoters?
I negotiate for myself.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and how often do you wrestle? Do you wrestle like twice a month, or what's your schedule, normal schedule like?
Usually anywhere from 2 to 3 times a weekend.
Okay, that's enough. Wow.
Yeah.
And how long does it normally take you to recover from a match, from the bumps and bruises and all that?
um, it's hard to say. After that Iron Man, or it wasn't an Iron Man match. It was actually a 2 to 3 falls match. But the 64-minute match that I mentioned, I'm still feeling that, and that was 2 months ago. My lower back especially is just on fire. So sometimes it takes 2 months. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you feel great the next day. It all really depends. It's just so many factors, like the moves you take, um, your nutrition, if whether you've been working out. You know what I mean? Like it's just a whole lot of factors.
And I was gonna say, everybody's like the non-wrestling fans, all they say, oh, it's all scripted and stuff like that. But you have to be a tremendous athlete, and you also have to be a bit of an actor, actress as well,
Yeah,
to
no,
tell a story.
definitely, yeah. I don't get offended when people say scripted or fake or whatever. Like, okay, so is everything else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that doesn't bother me. But yeah, like if people don't respect the athleticism that it takes, I coach beginners wrestling, and almost every class I see someone do something and kind of knock the wind out of themselves, and they're like, oh God, like this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. That every bump is supposedly the equivalent of a small car crash. Like what we do is not easy, and I don't need people to be like, oh, it's legit, because it's not. But what we do in there, and the maintenance that we have to do outside of the ring, it that deserves respect.
And overall, how did you look this match with Mike? Overall, how would you grade this match?
It was good, honestly. I don't like to I don't like to toot my own horn, but honestly, I felt really good about it. Honestly, my biggest concern was just keeping up with Bailey, because he is just on a next level, right? And I was very lucky to even get this match. It was a big confidence booster. So I mean, I would say I was really happy with it.
Okay. Have you fought Addie Starr yet as well?
Not one on one, but we have had a four-way, I think.
Okay. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you before. Obviously, you're a singles wrestler now, being the champ. But do you still like doing tag team matches, or do you prefer doing the individual singles matches?
Oh yeah, no, I love tag team wrestling. As soon as Von Vertigo's back, we'll be right back at it. Doing tag team stuff. Um, Tag team wrestling can be super fun and super exciting, right? Because you have so many more moving parts, and you can just do a lot of things that you can't do in singles matches. So
Because growing back up in the 80s, you had the Hart Foundation, Demolition, the
mhm.
Bulldogs. You had so many great tag teams. And then it seems for a while there, it kind of got lost, but it seems to be coming back again with tag team wrestling.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely coming back.
I like that tag team in the WWE, Randy Orton and Riddle,
Oh yeah,
two different types of wrestlers. And it's kind of, I think it's doing well.
it is. It is. At first, I was kind of like skeptical, but the more and more I watch, the more and more I'm like, okay, this is working.
By the way, I don't know how you feel. I prefer the old championship belts from the 80s and 90s than what they have now.
I would agree with you for the most part. I think everybody, likes the belts that they grew up with, but God, some of the ones they have now are pretty meh.
Yeah.
Not ugly, but just meh.
What's your I was gonna before I get back to the WWE, what's your thought on Crystal Moon now being the crossbodies ladies champion?
I think it's great. I've been a big fan of Crystal Moon for a while. Um, some people, what they lack in sort of athletic ability and sort of natural, God given talent, whatever, they make up for in hustle. They make up for in hard work. And I've watched her for, I mean, I guess like 3 years now, and she's just been putting in the work. She's gotten in great shape. Obviously, we all have a long way to go, but she puts in a lot of work, and I'm glad it's paying off for her.
Definitely. Now, how did you get involved with crossbody pro wrestling? Like,
Um,
somebody put you in touch with them?
no. So I had wrestled, I think, a few tag matches with them. Um, and I think the first or second time that Vaughn, my tag partner, had gone to the UK, I realized I'm like, oh, I only have X amount of bookings this month. Let's see if I can find some more. So I shot Ben a message, and he actually said, "Oh, I didn't realize you were looking for singles bookings. I thought you were just doing tag bookings." Yeah, and he found a spot for me. I went, had a good match, came back, and that's how it started, and that's how it always starts, right? You just go, you make the best of an opportunity, and hopefully the people welcome you back,
Okay.
and that's it.
And that leads to my next question. You've already answered part of it, but I'm going to ask you this anyways. Who has been your toughest opponent so far, male and female? And obviously, you answered the one part, who you defeated to win the title. And what's it like being the champion for
uh,
both Barry and CrossFit with two different organizations?
um, I joke that it's just you have to stay the latest and you have to wrestle at the end, right? You're the most tired, but it is good. Like, it's great. I mean, to know that two different companies kind of recognize you as not only just a good wrestler, but someone who's like reliable and loyal. It means a lot. At the end of the day, like, all I want out of wrestling is for people to just be, have sort of what's the word? Just I want people to look across the card and say, "Oh, who am I wrestling? Oh, it's Fuerza. Great, easy." That's what I want. I don't want to be difficult. I want to be reliable. I want to be, people say good hand as if that's an insult. I think that's the best thing in the world. A good hand, somebody that you can just throw into anything and they'll make the best of it. So I take it as a huge compliment. It's nice, obviously, holding titles. Like, wrestlers like to pretend that wins and losses and titles don't matter, but they do. And like, they make you happy, and so that's great. Um, as for toughest opponents so far, I mean, Holden Albright in that 64-minute match definitely is up there. Um, Other names that come to mind is Mike Bailey. Trying to keep up with him. Josh Alexander, same thing. Just this business is all cardio, so just trying to keep in the same pace with those kind of top level guys, especially Josh. He's challenging for a world title this weekend, so guys like that are typically pretty tough.
And one thing also, you want to protect your other opponent from injury as well.
Of course, that's number one priority.
Because I know in the what was it, the Bret Hart era with Bill Goldberg, I guess Bret Hart had some injuries. Actually, he got pretty well. His career was ended by Bill Goldberg, and I know also Owen Hart made a mistake with a pile driver on the late Owen Hart on
Hmm.
Stone Cold Steve Austin too. So
Yeah,
you want to be one of those guys knowing that, hey, I'm good in the ring, but I'm also make sure I take care of my opponent.
for sure, for sure. I think Chris Jericho in particular, I think he prides himself on the fact that he's never hurt anybody. And sometimes accidents happen, right? Like, this is super dangerous what we do, right? Like, people get hurt doing things that you wouldn't expect, right? So sometimes it's bad luck, and sometimes it's a bit of a sloppy worker.
Okay, and I'm going to throw you on the bus on this one. If you had a choice right now, WWE or AEW?
Oh man, that's tough. I think I would lean towards AEW. Um, Only because I feel like they have quite a bit more freedom. If you can keep working the indies while you're with them, that sounds like a win-win to me. Even if you get lost in the shuffle, at least you kind of have that name value behind you. But with the WWE, you can get lost in the shuffle and you can't, work anywhere else. So I'd have to lean towards AEW.
Okay, and I was gonna say, who do you think's the best baby face right now in pro wrestling and the best heel?
Adam Page is probably the best babyface, and it's just I love it because it's just like they're not trying to fix what's not broken, right? They're just very standard, typical, excellent babyface, right? Like his whole run has been just by the book, perfect, and like it's just proof that like if it's not broken, don't fix it. As for heels, Roman Reigns comes to mind. I think he's a bit heavy-handed with some of his monologues, honestly, but maybe that's the point. I don't know. Uh, I like the Bucks a lot too. I like the random crap that they wear. Um, I like Seth Rollins for a little bit there. I think he's kind of leaning towards the babyface sort of side now, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Edge is gonna do. Right, like he's right now. It's like a very kind of a typical wrestling, bad guy persona. So I'm excited to see what that's gonna turn out like. But I guess I would go with Roman Reigns and Adam Page.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you see CM Punk going back to being a heel again? Because he was quite good at being a heel when he was in the WWE.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Edge can go heel, I think anybody can go heel, right? Like it's just fun, right? And people forget that wrestling isn't just about technique and all that stuff. It's about being like creatively fulfilled, right? So if you can get your sort of creativity juices pumping, then why not? And at the same time, like you're leaving money on the table if you don't sometimes.
And I was gonna say, do you see CM Punk getting the heavyweight title in AEW, having a run with it?
I could see it. Yeah, why not?
Okay. And if Roman Reigns does lose his title at some point, who do you think the WWE will select to take the title off his hands if that happens in 2022?
In 2022. God, I don't know. I think the problem is they haven't really built up any like major baby faces in the past little while. Like Drew McIntyre, I guess, but like I don't know. I think he's a better heel personally. Um, I don't know. I could see it being like a younger guy. They could kind of give him the rub, but I wouldn't know who. I mean, honestly, the only person that comes to mind is like Braun Brecker, but like he's still pretty green. I don't know if they would strap the rocket to him like that. Because whoever beats him is that's gonna be like a big push, right? So
Do you see Brock Lesnar coming back, and do you think he'll get a push again, or do you think it's gonna kind of be the end of his career in the WWE?
no, I could definitely see Brock coming back. Brock's a businessman first and foremost, so if there's money to be made, I'm sure he'll come back. As for being champ, I mean he doesn't ever need to be, but it's the easy route to go. But Brock is a draw no matter what. He doesn't need a title. So if he were to come back, hopefully they just keep him in some sort of program with somebody else.
Because I was gonna say I like this new Brock they had because he was more friendly. Like he just seemed to be more himself than
Yeah,
before.
yeah, it
So,
was fun. Cowboy Brock.
and what's your thoughts on Paul Heyman?
Oh, he's great, genius,
I was
absolute
gonna.
genius.
Can you see Ronda Rousey being connected with him at some point?
Yeah, why not? Rhonda is not a good talker. That's totally okay to say, right? Paul's a great talker, so it would just make sense.
And that leads to my next question. Obviously, being having a personality, being a talker, did you have somebody help you with that, or is it just something that comes naturally?
um, Honestly, well, I did theater school for a while, but I
Okay.
wasn't in I wasn't in like the acting program. I was in the theater program, so I wrote. So that definitely helped. I love movies. I just a lot of what I sort of pick up in promos comes from outside things, whether it's movies or books or music or whatever. Um, I think I've always just been kind of a talker. Like not necessarily a good talker, but like, I speak until something comes out. And I don't know, I think with the right crowd, when the crowd's engaged, it becomes very easy to just talk and kind of be confident. There's nothing worse than trying to cut a promo with, a crowd that's just not really engaged, because then sort of all your faults kind of come to the surface, right? Because if you don't have any energy to feed off of, you're kind of like, I don't know what to say anymore. But when you get lucky, like in a crowd of Crossbody, Destiny, or Barry, like all I have to do is say something, and they'll give me the energy right back, and then that way it's easy.
Has anybody ever said something to you in the ring where you almost broke character? Like it's so funny you just wanted to laugh? Because there's been cases, I guess, in WWE that's kind of happened too, where guys say something outrageous and the guys just really having to hold it in.
hmm I mean, people make me laugh all the time. I'm kind of lucky because my character, whether it's a good guy, it's a guy who would laugh, and if it's a bad guy, it's also a bad guy who would laugh. Like,
Yeah.
I've kind of structured my character in a way that, like, if I laugh, it doesn't seem out of character. Like, it doesn't seem like I'm breaking character, just because that's who Gabriel Fuerza is. He'll laugh. He's not afraid to show his emotions. If you chop me, I'll scream. Right? Like, that's just who I am.
Okay. Just one last question I wanted to ask you. Actually, two quick ones. Besides yourself, who's the best talker at crossbody pro wrestling besides yourself?
I would say either the Dirty Vets or Holden Albright,
Okay.
because the Dirty Vets are just, I mean, they're just classic old school guys. Like, they're great to watch, and Holden Albright is great at just speaking from the heart. You know,
Okay. And besides Crystal Moon and obviously Alexa Nicole, what other female wrestlers should we be fans should be looking out for in the future? With
uh, definitely Lufisto. She just made her AEW debut, and I believe she just got an American visa, so hopefully you'll see her a lot more. Lufisto's great. Um, Jody Threat. Jody Threat's great. She's also kind of making waves in the states. Um, who else? Who else? Yeah, I can't really think of too many. Let's see. Alexia. I mean, Crystal Moon, obviously. Jody, Lufisto. Yeah. Honestly, I'd have to think about it, but yeah, Lufisto and Jody Threat definitely. Top tier. Like, Lufisto's a legend at this point, and who knows? Maybe Jody's a legend in the making.
okay. And I was going to say, any advice for those looking to pursue a career in the wrestling industry, Gabriel? And can you just tell us maybe just quickly a little bit about the next card in Cambridge? And where can my audience find you again on all social media and websites?
Sure. The best advice I could give anybody is just get in the best shape that you can, because anything that you do in the wrestling ring is going to be easier if you're in good shape. Whether that means exercising or dieting or really anything. Like signing up for a self defense class, a jujitsu class, like gymnastics, almost everything that you do, like outside of the wrestling ring, athletically, can be applied into the wrestling ring. Like even swimming, right? Like swimmers have great cardio, so just anything that you can do to keep moving, keep healthy, that's gonna help. Um, as for the next card in Cambridge, I actually don't know any of the matches. I wish I could tell you, but Madman Fulton will be there. I'll be there. Probably somewhere between 8 to 9 great matches, some tag matches, some ladies wrestling, some singles wrestling, probably a scramble, right? So you got a little bit of everything. And where can you find me on social media? Where's the Lives is my tag on Instagram, Twitter. I got a link tree attached to all of those, so they'll take you to all my goodies. Got a YouTube channel. What was that? Pro Wrestling Tees, all that stuff. It's all on there.
Okay, and what's your next match now in Ontario? Like
This Friday, I'm at C4. It's a four-way between myself, Young Jay Lee, Ben Ortmans, and Killian Murphy.
and where is this at again?
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. All right. Well, I was going to say, Gabriel, thank you so much. I hope I didn't mispronounce your last name again.
No, I don't think you did.
Okay, so it's Feruza?
Fuerza.
Fraza.
Think like F, and then
Yeah.
where is so and so, and then za like pizza.
Okay.
Fuerza.
Freza. Okay.
There you go.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much. I try to get my guest names right because, like I said, I'm trying to make a career in the radio, and it's important to pronounce people's names right or get it right.
Of course.
So, but I was gonna say, thank you so much for coming on, Gabriel, and I'm hoping to get some more wrestlers and maybe Ben in the future to come on as well. And
Sure.
I'm working on trying to get Crystal Moon to come on as well.
Oh yeah. I'm sure she'll be happy to hop on.
Definitely. So I want to say, hey, thank you so much for coming on, Gabriel. And we'll definitely, I'm definitely going to be at the June 18th card in Cambridge, and hopefully I'll get to see you defend your title again.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Okay. Well, have a great night, and we'll keep in touch with you on social media.
You too. See you
Thank
later.
you so much. You too.
Bye.
Bye. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast tonight with Gabriel and talking about the squared circle. And let's see, guys, just to let you know, my next live with CDP podcast is Thursday, April 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern with Chris Darrington. He's a point guard with the basketball league in the States, Toledo Glass City, and he's coming off the 2022 All-Star Game MVP against the National Basketball League of Canada All-Stars. The TBL defeated them 155 to 150. Chris Darrington was named the MVP from Toledo, 35 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. So we're going to talk to Chris about his career with the Toledo Glass City and being the All-Star MVP, and his story about almost giving up on basketball, and now he's back with his dream again of hopefully being in the G League and eventually getting a chance in the NBA. So I hope you guys can tune into season 3, episode 31 of Live with CDP podcast this Thursday at 3 o'clock. Again, with Chris Darrington, point guard with the Toledo Glass City. And again, their 2022 All-Star MVP against the National Basketball League of Canada All-Stars. Also, guys, check out YouTube Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy. They post a lot of their matches on there as well. And Crossbody is out of Cambridge at 132 North Argyle Street in Cambridge either. So just check them out there as well. And also, guys, like I said, you can check out his Twitter page, Gabriel on Twitter at Fuza Lives. And you can check out their Facebook page, CBPWA Academy as well. So, and before I wrap up the podcast, guys, I just want to let you know, Live with CDP podcast, the audio version is on Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn as well. And also, guys, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. I'm quite active on TikTok as well. So, and let's see, guys, we got some basketball games tonight to talk about. Oh, before we get to that, you guys can check out my wordpress.com/home/live with CDP podcast. .wordpress.com. I just did another blog on the return of the OHL playoffs after a 3-year hiatus due to the pandemic. So hopefully you guys can check out my latest blog. I do a weekly blog. So just check it out at wordpress.com/home/live with CDP podcast .wordpress.com, and let me know what you think of my blog as I'm trying to get into writing as well. So, and also, guys, you got Atlanta and Miami tonight, game 2, Minnesota at Memphis, game 2, and New Orleans at Phoenix at 10 p.m. And also the Raptors play tomorrow night at home, game 3 against the 76ers. Must win for the Raptors. They're down 2-0 to Joel Embiid and the Sixers. They do not want to fall behind 3-0, so they're going to have to step up. But again, I want to say thank you to my guests today, Kelsey and Nicole Nelson from Bally Sports, and pro wrestler Gabriel Fuerza from Crossbody Pro Wrestling, and also Barry Wrestling for coming on tonight. And I will be downloading these podcasts really shortly. And like I said, guys, I think that's pretty well it. The Detroit Tigers are at home at Comerica Park for a 6-game series. They're taking on the Yankees in a 3-game series. I am not sure who they're playing on the weekend, but Miguel Cabrera is at 2,995 hits. He is 5 away from the magical 3,000 hit. He would be the first tagger since 1974. Al Kaline, who had his 3,000 hit against the Baltimore Orioles at the old Memorial Stadium. The last Detroit tagger to have 3,000 hits in Detroit at home was 1921. Ty Cobb did it at the old, I guess it was Briggs Stadium back in 1921 when he did it. It eventually became Tiger Stadium, but Ty Cobb's the last Tiger to have 3,000 hits done in Detroit. And Al Kaline in 1974 is the last one to do it. He did it against at Memorial Stadium against the Orioles. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully Maggie gets it this week. So we'll cross our fingers. But again, guys, I just want to say thank you again to Kelsey and Gabriel for coming on live with CDP podcast. Episode 29 today was Kelsey. Episode 30 was Gabriel. And again, guys, before I leave, next live with CDP podcast again is this Thursday, April 21st at 3 p.m. with Chris Darrington, point guard with the Toledo Glass of the Basketball League. Again, the recent MVP of the All-Star game. Again, 35 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds against the National Basketball League of Canada All-Star game. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Chris. I had his head coach, Freddie Zamaya, on a couple weeks ago, and it should be a good podcast with Chris. So that'll be season 3, episode 31, Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it a podcast. Just again, want to say thank you to Kelsey and Gabriel for coming on. Thank you to everybody watching this on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for everyone watching on Facebook Live and on Twitter at Chris D. Pame. Follow me if you'd like to there, and also on my audio platform as well. So I hope everybody has a great night. Enjoy the NBA games, and we'll see you guys Thursday at 3 o'clock with Chris Darrington from the Toledo Glass City. Have a great night, guys. And thanks again for watching and listening to Live with CDP podcast.